Hi guys, welcome back to part 3 of the Hotshot build. Right, we are painting up today. I've made a start on the driver body on the top of the chassis. I thought no one's going to be interested in seeing someone who doesn't know what they're doing trying to paint something up, so I've just cracked on. I've got my Tamiya paints. I've got these groovy paintbrushes that have got this cool little holder there to help with control, so they've been good. I've made a start on the black, couple of little errors but not too bad on the driver helmet, so I'm taking my time. This is coat number 3 on this one and that's starting to look good. Still a bit of black showing through, so we've got a bit more to do, and there's been 2 coats of black on there so far, so I'll keep going and let you know how I get on as we go through part 3. So we've moved inside this evening because it's so cold out. Just let you know it's getting close to festive time. So I've moved in just to concentrate a little bit more on getting this paintwork done. It's coming together quite nicely. The helmet's only got 1 coat on so far. I'm going to put another coat on probably tomorrow night now. But the body has got 4 coats of white on and 2 coats of the chrome on. It's looking all right. I've just got the stickers to put on those straps down his arm, on his seat belt. And I'll probably put another coat on the helmet tomorrow, but coming together nicely. So the driver is finished. Well, I say finished. Really annoyingly, I cut the decals out and lost one. How annoying is that? So I'm going to have to try and get some more decals, unless anyone's got those little strap decals left over from a Hotshot and they want to contact me and donate into the channel. Other than that, poor chap's missing a sticker. But hey ho, we've put the battery sides on, so we're now on to step 17. Okay, let's see if we can put all this together and build a suspension crank. Look at that. Beautiful. That came together quite easily actually. The only difficult bit was attaching that. There's a sort of ball on the end of that bit of rod and holding that still. You can see I've scratched it up a little bit. Tamiya normally asks you to wrap some tissue paper around it, but because it didn't say in the instructions, I didn't think to do so. I've ended up scratching it all up, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's all done now. So now on to step 18. Attaching the rear gearbox. Brilliant. Right, I've got everything laid out. We've got the stabiliser going on. We've got that suspension crank that we just made. This bit here is going somewhere I can't quite remember. That goes over the top of there. This is going to be attached to the body. That's going to go through there and into the gearbox somewhere. And that's all the hardware to attach it onto the chassis as well. So we'll get on and do this, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. I'm going to try this again with now the rear gearbox, not the front gearbox. Whoops. Just a little bit of advice for anybody building a Hotshot. Make sure you mount up the stabiliser before you put on that suspension thing. Because if you don't, you can't get in to that screw in there. So the rear gearbox is now mounted. Must say, this is really good fun. Really enjoying this. So we're now on to step number 19, which has a lot less steps to it. And that's going to be mounting the front gearbox. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. Crikey, that was a lot harder than I thought it needed to be. We've got there, we've got the rear gearbox mounted and the front gearbox mounted. Driver's painted, all looks good. That front bit is really hard, it's almost a 2-person job, but we got there in the end. It's starting to look like a buggy. Still plenty to do. Let's see what we've got to do next. Step number 20. Sorry guys, I got carried away and started building this up, forgetting to do a quick little video of the parts. Got all the bits and pieces that we need there. to start building up the shocks, and I've already started and made a start on assembling the inside of those, you see. So I'm doing both at once, only 2 shocks, nice and simple. Off we go. There we go, we've built up 2 of the damper cylinders. We are now moving on to putting in the damper oil. Step 21, fill them up, put the diaphragms in the top, screw them down, and we're off and running. And then we're going to get those assembled and mounted on. They're quite neat little shocks actually. I mean, each one of those has got 5 O-rings in them. And I'm just trying to think back to the ones that I built on the TTO2B and the DTO3, and I've got a feeling they only had one O-ring in, or maybe even 2. But these guys have got quite a few more in. So hopefully they've got a good seal. Perhaps anyone can let me know whether these modern Hotshots on the Riri are prone to leaking or not. Be interesting to know. Right, on to filling the oil. Normally I'm used to having yellow oil for the shocks with the Tamiya kit. This is blue one, so I'm assuming it's a different weight. And these cylinders don't go in my stand, so they slip straight through the holes. So I'm going to have to try and do this by holding them by hand. So I'll try not to make too much of a mess. There it is, one made up. Now I've got covered in oil. I filled it right to the top like I normally do, and the diaphragm sat just too high on the shock, and I couldn't get the cap on, so oil went everywhere. I've had to clean up and realised on the next one I won't overfill it quite as much, so I can push the diaphragm in. Just a word of warning for those building one. Right, let's get the second one done. Right, I'm going to assemble the dampers now. So we've got the top part there that covers up the cap. That piece there is the adjustable. So you'll see there's different notches in there that give different rates of compression on the spring. That's the end that's going to attach to the body. And here's one I made earlier. So you can see it. It's glorious. They're quite nice actually to build together. Very, very tricky getting that bottom piece on. You have to hold the rod with some long nose pliers while you twist it all on. But it is a cool shock. Really enjoying this. Right, we've done it. Front, rear. Next step is to attach the front one and then the rear one. And that'll do us, I think, for part 3. So I'm going to get cracking on those and show you the finished goods. Right, the front stabiliser bar is going on. So I'm going to go ahead and dig the screws out and get that screwed in. And then I'm going to put the front shock on those 2 shock mounts down the front. And I was not expecting to be mounting the front suspension shock with some C-clips. But that's what we're going to do. Awesome. Front one's mounted and springing back. So now we're on to the rear. I had to watch that sway bar, that side kept popping out. Got it in now. Right, onto the rear. I think that'll do us for step 3. So we've got rear mount on. That was fun. C-clips on the back there, but through that side there was a screw pin. The other side you had to compress. Can't see it. Compress the spring down to be able to put the screw pin in. So that was good fun. And then the front one mounted up with the sway bars. We are getting closer and closer to a buggy. So part 4 is next, which I believe the next step is to mount the servo, and then we get to start to mount the electronics, put the body underneath there, this sort of other body shell that goes, not the body shell, the other part of the chassis, the clamshell that goes underneath. And then we're probably going to start thinking about getting some wheels on it. I've got to build the cage around the top. That's the other thing we've got to do as well. Build that cage around the top, that iconic Hotshot cage. Huge shout out to the RC Alf again for making this content possible. We are getting somewhere now. The more I build of this, the more I love it, and the more I can't wait to get it out on the track. Until next time, everybody, please continue to enjoy my content as much as you can, and see you all on the next one. See you soon.